Hello, welcome to season 2 of the BrandUp Podcast. Whether you're new here or we've met before, I am thrilled to be in your ears. Thank you for listening. In this episode, I'll be sharing what you can expect from this new series. I'll also explore what I've noticed about marketing when you're a neurodivergent human like me, and why taking a break from marketing online can really be a good idea. Taking a break is something I've had a lot of experience with lately. In fact, I've been mostly offline for the past 18 months. Was the break planned? No. Did it do me good? Absolutely. Taking a break taught me two big things. First, it turns out that marketing my business constantly online really wasn't great for my mental health, my physical health, or my relationships. Maybe not a great revelation, but for me, as someone used to pushing myself no matter what, it was a little hard to swallow. Second, I realized that I needed to change the way I did marketing and how I worked with my tiny team to make that happen. Trying to keep up with the changes on social platforms and stand out online exhausted me to my core. I was trying to produce like someone who isn't neurodivergent when I very much am. Didn't work well for my wellness or for my business. Instead of pushing and forcing myself to do what I've learned in endless courses and from countless coaches, I've gone rogue. I am delighted to announce that I have named Joy to the position of Chief Marketing Officer. Joy, the feeling, not a person, decides where I pour precious time and energy for my marketing. I highly recommend this strategy, especially for us neurodivergent folks. It's not to say we should never do anything that feels hard or a bit uncomfortable, but if you choose a strategy that fills you with joy, you are so much more likely to stick to it. The best bit is that when we do show up on our social platforms of choice, our readers, viewers, and listeners, they feel our joy and they're drawn to it. Maybe you're feeling it right now because I am feeling dance out of my skin joyful. Not only because I love this podcasting format and the connections we can make through sound, also because I am confident that the conversations and solo shows you'll discover in this season will be useful, entertaining, and helpful. My hope is that hearing from other, often neurodivergent founders will motivate you to get your brand out into the world with your unique voice in ways that work for your people, your brain, and your business. This new series of the BrandUp Podcast, it brings me all the joy because I've baked in fun, collaboration, and learning for all of us. My brain thrives on collaboration. How about yours? I co-create with my clients, and I would do it all day long. Well, as long as our joint concentration and energy holds anyway. Joy and collaboration are at the core of every episode this season. As we go forward in the coming weeks, you'll be meeting brilliant entrepreneurs doing good work online and in the real world. Each of them is smart, kind, funny, and in many cases, happens to be a person I like very much. To extend the joy of the podcast, I'm planning on sharing it far and wide, much more than I did in the first series. It's really the first time I'll be spreading myself across many different platforms. Good idea? Well, I've been told multiple times it really isn't. Okay, let's find out. I don't know, but I'm curious to know how it works for my brain, my business, and my audience. This is where the second learning from my big break comes in. When I was offline, I realized something that many of my neurodivergent clients have also learned, often the hard way. I need help, preferably from someone whose strengths are really different from mine. Ideally, someone who really isn't judgmental about the challenges of working with ADHD and who shows me every day that it's safe to be my messy, creative, joyful, and colorful self. Lucky for me, I have my magical unicorn. Her name is Fiona, and she is the secret ingredient to making the grand plans I have for marketing this podcast into a reality. She lives high in the Swiss Alps. I know, right? That's where she'll pull the levers and flip the switches to share this podcast across many, many platforms. Thank goodness for Fiona. Her brain is the perfect complement to mine. Where I bring creativity, energy, new ideas, and connections, Fiona brings organization, structure, and calm. Best of all, for this neurodivergent, often anxious mind, she doesn't carry an ounce of judgment. Not one. One of the best leadership and mental health decisions I ever made was sharing with Fiona what feels hard for my brain and what lights me up. We've been working together for almost 4 years. The more I show her what I feel is messy, the easier business and frankly life become. If you can find a Fiona, I highly recommend. She helps create and protect space for me to follow my squirrel brain. The safer I felt to be my wacky, wondrous self, the better I fared and the more my business has grown. So really, those are the two biggest learnings from my break from being online. One, there is no one way to do marketing or to share your brand. The most important thing I've found is to find a way that honors your brain. And it's true for every one of my clients as well. Find a way that honors your brain, not the way you think it should work or the way you've heard it might, quote, because we all have the same 24 hours and we can all do the same thing, which, by the way, is bullshit, especially when you're neurodivergent. Create a marketing strategy and choose plans that really work for your brain. One of the ways to know if things work for your brain is what I learned in learning number 2, which is that when you make it joyous, you'll stick to it and you'll get such better results. For example, as I'm recording this episode of the podcast, I neglected to put my loudest of the multiple cats that we have outside of my office, largely because if she's outside, she spends a lot of time yelling. So loud that even this noise canceling microphone will pick her up. So she was inside on my desk on a notebook for half an hour until I pressed record. And ever since I've been recording, she's been walking around on my lap. And if you're curious to see what she looks like or parts of her, you can go to the YouTube channel that we're creating and find, I don't know what portions of her little furry self showing up in the screen as I record this podcast. But you know what? It's joyous to me to have her with me. It is delightful, far more than if she was in front of the door of my office screaming to be let in. Having her here means that I recorded this podcast with extra joy and imperfection. And that's okay because my cats are one of the furry ingredients of my life. There are many more of which you'll likely hear in this podcast. I hope that you enjoy this new series of the BrandUp Podcast. I created this series of conversations to honor and benefit you. And I'm really delighted to start sharing them with you today. In each episode, you can expect truth talking, laughter, and honest conversation about the challenges and joys of marketing our businesses. Every once in a while, I might share a brief solo episode with you like this one. If I have an idea that feels playful, light, or important, you'll hear from me all by myself. In fact, when I was creating this introductory episode, I wrote a second episode as well. So it won't be too long until you hear from me again. When you hear from me, you'll know that inspiration struck and I decided to follow those breadcrumbs. because who knows what might happen. That's again where that joy is, right? And I wish that for you. If it feels relevant, I might also share a little bit about my journey through business ownership as a neurospicy human. I would love to know if you would find that helpful. You can reach me on social media or on email via the link in the show notes. Our first conversation of the series is coming right up, and I'm thrilled to share it with you. Enjoy, and I will speak to you then.